welcome everybody, right? So we'll start with the training, right? So, right, talking about the tool Selenium, right? It's a browser automation tool. This tool can only be used to automate browsers, fine? If you are planning that you will be automating your desktop-based applications like Skype or something with this tool, then it is not at all possible, right? So just a minute guys, just a minute. So, but this tool has a brief history, fine? This is not a single tool. This tool comprises of many other tools as well, fine? So, giving you a small background about Selenium, how it evolved over a period of time, it's like this, that initially in the market.
Excuse me?
Yeah, tell me.
Sorry to disturb. Do I need to join a Skype too?
No, you don't need to join Skype, okay?
Okay.
Some people, they sometimes ping me questions on Skype. If you want to add me on Skype, my Skype ID is QTP Selenium. You have a microphone, right? You can just communicate with me directly.
Okay. I mean, if there is any exchange of files, etc. through Skype, I need it, right?
There will be no exchange like that.
Okay.
Fine. So, right. So these were the three versions. One was initially it was Selenium RC. Okay. Then there was something known as right? ID is there, and something like Grid 1. Fine. Selenium ID is a very simple tool which only works on Mozilla. Okay, it's basically a record run tool. Many of you must have seen some automation tools. It does recording and running, and it's basically that kind of tool, right? But the only point is it works only on Mozilla. Okay, so that's why we have Selenium RC. Selenium RC as a tool can work on multiple browsers and also with multiple languages. Fine. So RC as a tool worked on Mozilla, it worked on IE, it worked on Chrome, it works on Chrome, Opera, right, Safari. Fine. Plus, apart from this tool required a tester to learn any one of the languages like Java, C#, Ruby, Python, Perl, PHP. Okay, right? Now, the languages which you need to learn, they are independent of the language in which the site is made. Suppose if the website is made in C#, okay, you can use Selenium with Java, Ruby, Python, C#, any language to automate the website. Fine, right? But the thing was, RC had many drawbacks. The major drawback being that it had a server. You have to start that server, stop that server, and many times the server never used to get started. You used to end up wasting a lot of time, right? So that was one of the major drawbacks. One more drawback was there that the API was small. Okay, this tool actually was never made for a large-scale implementation. Fine. The person who made this tool, he never thought that it would go so big. Fine. So that was again a major drawback. Many of the features which shouldn't have been there were not there. Okay. Right. Just a minute. So what did Google did? Google actually, as a company, it automates all the applications on Selenium. Right. So it came up with a new version known as WebDriver. Okay, this is also known as Selenium 2.0. Now this WebDriver is completely different from RC. These two are completely different tools. Don't think that you need to learn RC in order to learn WebDriver. Okay, people who have worked for 5, 6, 7 years on RC, when they look at WebDriver, they are not able to understand it. Okay. Google was the major entity behind WebDriver. It automates all the applications using Selenium, right? So WebDriver also has the same features. It works on Mozilla, IE, Chrome. These are the three official browsers, right? Safari is also there, but it is not it's not stable as of now. But in coming releases, it will be. Opera is also there, but it's not like WebDriver guys have not supported Opera. It's the Opera guys which have given the implementation of Opera Driver, right? Similarly, you can work with it using languages, majorly languages being Java, C Sharp, Ruby, Python are there. PHP is not there with WebDriver. Okay, right? So, and in this, ID remains same, but grid, instead of grid 1, something known as grid 2 has come up. Okay, grid is something which can help you to execute test cases parallelly. You make a single machine hub, connect machines like this, and you execute the test cases parallelly, managing from the centralized hub machine. Fine. Grid 1 supports RC, Grid 2 supports both WebDriver as well as RC. Okay. Now this tool is a single tool having many tools inside it. So in this course we will be talking about WebDriver. Okay. So let's start. Fine. What I'll do is I'll tell you firstly how to download Eclipse, because on Eclipse you will be writing all the code and all for Java. We will be learning WebDriver, and to learn WebDriver first we need to learn Java language. Right? So you go to Google, okay, and you write over here download Eclipse. Fine. You need to download Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers. You click on this, and this is Windows 64-bit, 32-bit, this is Windows 64-bit. Hold on, no, just download this one, Indigo packages. Don't download the Juno package, this is the Juno package. Download the Indigo package of Eclipse. Eclipse is like an editor for Java language. For example, in C there used to be Turbo C or something. Fine. So you can download the Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers, Indigo packages. I'm sorry. Whatever you have to do, you can use, and you can simply download and install it.
Ashish, I have a question here.
Yeah.
So I already have a Helios package installed. So would that be a problem using WebDriver?
Which package installed?
Helios package.
Okay, no, that shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Only thing is, sometimes, look, the test ng gives problems. With Indigo package, test ng does not give any problem. Actually, Selenium will work fine, that's fine. Okay. Now, once you've downloaded it, you will get it in your G drive, Eclipse out here. Okay. You open it up, and this would be eclipse.exe file. Fine. You start this file, and in some time, this is not installable, it comes as a bundle. Fine. It will not get installed on the machine. Right. So go down to open. Yeah. You will get this window. This is known as Workspace Launcher. Fine. At this part, you will be storing all the code. Right. So I'll write over here weekend, November weekend. At this location, I'll store all the code which we are going to make in this complete training. Right? Yeah, Sandeep, ask a question. Yeah, Sandeep, tell me. So this, no, Sandeep, I'm not able to hear you. Right. So this is Eclipse, right? And this is the welcome screen of Eclipse.
Ashish?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Akram. Actually, the sound is very, very low. Is it only on my side, or everybody can hear you properly? Because the sound is very fading. It,
Okay.
uh, can you?
Akram,
I hope the voice is okay now. I just gave a microphone boost, right? So this is the welcome screen. Right? You
Yes,
need to close
Ashish,
it.
this is now good. Sorry
Okay,
for interrupting.
fine.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the kind of screen which you'll get once you open up Eclipse, right? On this screen, in the central part over here, you will be writing all the code, fine. In the left part out here, you will be keeping all your packages. That means the projects and all will be kept over here. And in the bottom, you will see an output. Okay, and what you should do is, like, you should create a project in the very beginning. How to create a Java project in Eclipse, right? You need to go to File, New, and click on Other. Look, initially I'm just going to concentrate a little on Java, because most people do this mistake. They don't concentrate on Java and they directly try to run over to Selenium, and in the end they lose up interest. If you know Java, then Selenium is a piece of cake, right? So I'll be concentrating on the concepts of Java as well as Selenium. I'll be concentrating over them parallelly. Okay, so you go to File, New, Project, you select a project over here, and in this window expand Java and select Java project. Okay, click on Next and you'll get a screen like this. You can simply write day 1. Fine. Click on Next and finish. So in the end you will get a screen like this. Or on the right side you will see day 1 project. Inside it there is a source folder and JRE system library. This JRE system library is nothing but Java which was installed on your machine. Source folder is the folder in which you will keep all the Java files and all. Fine. If I right click on the day 1 project and go to the properties, you will be requiring this properties section a lot while working with Selenium. So remember that when you right click on day 1 project, you see the properties option, and if you choose the properties option, you will see the path where the project is lying. Fine. You copy this path and just a minute. Yeah. You will see this day 1 project out here, okay, under the workspace. Inside day 1 project there are lots of folders and files, out of which only source folder is available out here in Eclipse. Fine. Now in this source folder we will be keeping the Java code. The rest of the folders, what they do, we will come to know about them as the course proceeds. Fine. So right now, okay, what I'll do is, in the source folder, I'll create a new simple Java file and I'll print something, right? So you right click in the source folder and you select new class, okay, and class means the Java file, right? And I'll name that file as sample_Java, okay, and check on this box, public static void main, okay, and when you finish it, you will have this file generated inside the folder sample_Java, right, and this would be inside the source folder. Fine. In Eclipse it would look something like this. The size of the font is very small. I'll just increase the size of the font. Hold on. Okay, fine. I hope you are able to see it clearly now. Fine. Now, this is the main function like we have in the C language. When you run the program, the control comes in for the first time in this function. Whatever code you have to write inside this class. This is the starting bracket of the class. This is the ending bracket of the class. Whatever code you will be writing between these two brackets. Okay, what is public, what is static, what is void, and all. We'll get to know all of these as we proceed. So just accept some things as they are. As I proceed, you will come to know what static and all other stuff is. Fine. To learn Selenium, Java is the backbone. Don't try to run away from Java and don't feel that it is very tough to learn it. Okay, it's all about practice. You cannot learn Java just by thinking about Java. Right? You have to sit down, make some programs, practice, make mistakes, and then only you can learn it. It's a very simple language. It's not a big deal. Right? You just need to learn core Java. That's it. In Java, in main function, the control comes in for the first time when you run the program. Fine. If I write system.out.println, this is the command to print something in Java. Right? If I write over here, hello, and I run the program. You can run the program through this icon on the top, the run icon. Or you can right click on the file and you can select run as Java application or something. Fine. So you can click on this button and run button. You will see hello getting printed. Okay. Or you can right click on the file and run as Java application. For some people this would be very easy. You must be knowing all of this. Just hold on for some time. I'll start some simple things, then I'll move on to Selenium. Right? Now, in Java as well, we also have integer like int I equals to 100. We have got strings like string s equals to here there. Right? We have a double to store decimal numbers. Okay, right? And the shortcut to print, the command to print something is system.out.println. You just have to type syso and hit control space bar. This will come up. Okay, you have to write syso plus control plus space. Okay, right? Now, inside the default package, right, this is the file. When I run this prints hello. Okay, but to learn Selenium, you first need to learn the concepts of object-oriented programming. Many people, they come to me and they are like, they don't know the object-oriented concepts and they think that they know Java. You cannot learn Selenium, you cannot be a master of Selenium or Java if you don't know the concepts of object-oriented programming. People say that there is not enough documentation on Selenium. The thing is, the documentation is there. Okay, you have a very good documentation on Selenium. The problem is that complete documentation is technical. Okay, if I write out here, if I write over here download Selenium, fine, you have this thing, and now if you scroll down, you will see a Javadoc link out here. Okay, and this is actually the documentation of Selenium. Okay, if I click on this link, Javadoc link, then hold on, right, the documentation of Selenium will come up. It's a little slow. Yeah, this is the documentation of Selenium. It is completely object-oriented in nature. A common person who is not having the concepts of object-oriented programming very strong, he cannot learn from this documentation. Right? So now I will take up the concepts of object-oriented programming and then I will take up Selenium. So give me another 30, 35, 40 minutes to teach you basics of object-oriented programming. Then I will come back to Selenium and I will tell you how to download it and how to apply those concepts. Fine. So for teaching you the concepts of object-oriented programming, right, this static and all, everything comes under that, right? So I'm assuming that everybody over here knows the basics. That is what a if statement is, what a for loop is and all. Fine. If you don't know simple things like if statement or for loops, you can go to my website qtpselenium.com, and out here you can have a look at the training video too. Okay, you can click on the watch now button for training video 2 and have a look at it. Right now, I'll make a simple class. I'll make a simple class called country.java. Okay, to teach you the concepts of object-oriented programming. In country.java, I'll make a variable called as string name, and I'll make a variable called as int population. Right? So these are the two things which describe country. Okay. Inside this class, I'll make a new, inside this project, in the source folder, I'll make another class known as test country and keep a main function inside it. Right? So this is my test country.java, which is having the main function, but in country.java, right, I don't have anything. Okay, I just have got two variables over here. Alright, now in test country, right, I am going to make object of country class. I am going to access the country class from test country. Okay, in case anybody is having any questions or any doubts, feel free to ask me. You can ask any question through WebEx, by chat or participants, or you can add me on Skype. Skype ID is QTP Selenium, and you can ask me through Skype. Okay, now I'll create the object of country.java from test country. I'll have to write simply new country. That's it. When I write this new country, what happens is that in the memory, an object of country class is formed. That object has got two properties. One is name, the other is population. Okay, right? So both these are there inside the object. Okay, but this object is hanging in the memory. It cannot be accessed. To access it, we need to make an object reference. So for that, you can write country C1 equals to new country. So what happens is that in the memory you get reference to the object. That means a reference called C1 points towards the country object. Okay, right? Now similarly, you can make another object called C2. Similarly, you can make another object called C3. Okay, so what happens is that in the memory, you will have three objects. Every object will have a name and the population variable. Right? Okay, and these three variables C1, C2 and C3 will be pointing towards the three objects. Okay, now if I write C1 dot, I can access the variables inside C1. I can write C1 dot name is India, C1 dot population is say 100. Fine. Similarly, I can write C2 dot name is USA, and C2 dot population is 8. Similarly, C3 dot name is United Kingdom, right? C3 dot population is 50. So every object will have the properties of name and population enabled, right? So out here, this is India, this is US, and this is UK.
I have a question,
Right.
Ashish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe we can also write C1 equals new country, C2 equals new country directly. So what is the difference between country C1 equals new country and C1 equals new country?
You cannot write like C1 equals to new country. If you write like this, C1 equals to new country, you will get an error.
Okay, in which case, so why do we have to write it explicitly?
This is how you write it. This is the syntax. Okay. Suppose I write over here country C4 equals to null. That means C4 is a reference. Okay, it's a reference, object reference, which is not pointing to any object. Okay, and in the next line then I can write C4 equals to new country. Then it will start pointing towards an object. I think you must have seen something like this.
Yeah.
Getting my point?
Yep. Now it's clear. Thanks.
Yeah. So now C1, C2 and C3 are three references to three different objects. References are different and objects are different. You'll soon come to know the difference. Okay. Now if I write system.out.println C1.name and C2.name, C3.name, and if I run this code, this will print India, US and UK. Fine. That's what was expected. Okay. Now I can move references in the memory. I can write C1 equals to C3. When I write C1 equals to C3, C1 gets removed from here, and now C1 will point towards this. I'm sorry for that background noise. Not do much about it, right? Now C1, it actually points towards the third object where C3 is pointing. Both the references C1 and C3 can change or alter the object. Now after writing this line, if I print it again, I'll just write system.out.println a big star and system.out.println C1.name, C2.name and C3.name. Okay, and I run this. You see this time it prints UK, US and UK again, because C1 is pointing to the place where C3 is pointing. So this also prints UK and this also prints UK.
So Ashish, I have one question there.
Yeah.
So this is related to object-oriented programming base, right? This is a concept.
Yeah.
So in the first steps, you created one object.
Yeah.
This is the create the object, and this is the C1 dot name. Name is, what is the name? Where is the name came from?
Name is in the country class which I created. I am creating the objects of this class.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I am creating the objects of country class. So that's why when after creating the object, if I write C1 dot or C2 dot or C3 dot, I get the properties of that particular object.
Okay.
Okay, fine, right? So this is how you create objects. Okay, now in country class we can also have functions. For example, I can have a function called public string get name. The return type of this function is string. That means it should return you some string. Fine. So I write over here return name. Okay. So now in test country I can also print like this. I can